everybody's probably seen the show Dragon's Den. But what we're doing is we're taking that and moving it online. So companies can put their pitches on our platform, and through our technology, we're able to actually onboard investors and have investors, regular Canadians, get behind the companies that they believe and want to see be successful. So we've started today. We launched about a year ago, and we've closed 4 successful deals on our platform, one being Ripen. We have 6 active companies on our platform today. So the beer you're drinking today is Persephone. And if you love their beer, you can go and be an owner in their company. So you can come on to Front Funner, you can purchase shares in their company. All of the investor documents are up there for you to see. And that's essentially what we're doing. We're changing the way that Canadians are investing and getting behind supporting early stage companies. And we hope that you'll join the investor revolution. Thank you.
Okay, thanks to everybody. This was great. Over to Matt.
Thanks, Sean. I got too many people dropping mics. All right, before we move on to our panel, we have one final announcement. We are very pleased to welcome Stephen Cryne. Stephen comes to us from, sorry, Pages. Always use that. Stephen comes to us from the Canadian Employee Relocation Council. Yeah, employee. And he's here to tell us exactly why this is relevant to you. And when you learn all the things you need to know, you hire people through these platforms, they're going to help you bring them here. So I'll forward you, Steve.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Can you guys hear me okay without this? Can you hear me at the back? Yeah? Okay. Just gives me another hand. So yeah, I'm Steve Cryne. I'm the president and CEO of the Canadian Employee Relocation Council, based out of Toronto. Thanks to Sean, Brian, for the opportunity to come and chat with you folks this evening. Before you get into the panel, they asked me if I'd give you a bit of a sense in terms of trying to paint a picture about why this is important when we're talking about the movement of people, how we can get people between our countries, and some of the challenges that you're facing and will face in the future as your organizations grow. So just a couple of things. A little bit about our organization. We were established in 1982. We're a not-for-profit association based out of Toronto. We're a national organization. Really, we're trying to work to impact the systems, policies, the processes that enable you to move the right people to the right place at the right time and for the right amount of money. It's very difficult today, as the gentleman from PwC said, to get people into our country. And I'll talk a little bit about that, about how difficult it really is. We've got 4 key services: research in the area of human resources. We've got best practices around what companies are utilizing in order to move those people. We have government relations activity. We're very active with the federal government in Canada on the movement of people under the economic immigration programs and rules of temporary entry. But we also participate on an international level with groups like the Global Foundation for Migration and Development and the World Economic Forum. And we're also very busy between Canada and the US trying to improve mobility between our 2 countries. We have a professional development program that we offer out of Centennial College in Toronto, and that gives you a certification program that enables you to work with companies. If you're in the HR space, it enables you to work with companies and get it right when you come to the types of mobility programs that you want to have. And knowledge transfer. We do a lot of speaking engagements. I speak at a lot of events. We have put some information out on the tables for a conference that we have here in Vancouver a little later on this year. Most of our members, or many of our corporate members, are in Fortune 100 companies, and we also bring together a great network of providers that ensure that you get those people into the communities with as much efficiency as possible. There are a number of our folks here, Becky, Tyler, Mo, put your hand up. Yeah, Mo. So just put your hands up there, folks, and if you want to learn more about what these people do, I'd encourage you to participate. Okay, so what's going on and why is this important? There's 4 or 5 key trends that are driving change in our world today. I'm going to talk about a little bit about a couple of them. Globalization 2.0. we're having to play the game. We're moving more of our expertise into those markets. And it used to be into the Eastern markets and the developing markets. And it used to be that we would just send people over there. Now we have to play their game. And so it's dramatically shifting how we're working and the way in which we're setting up our organizations. Demographic changes are the second major factor. And I'll drill into this a little bit to show you the extent of that. Individualism and value. People today have choices, and they want the opportunity to make choices. And where they live and where they work, they very much have those choices today because the talent, as you will see, is very much in demand. And we're also moving to a knowledge-based economy. This room is a great example of that. Your city is a great example of that, of how our economy is moving forward at lightning speed. And many of you in this room, in that last bucket, technology and the digital age are moving that at lightning speed. So what we have going on here is captured in this great quote from the McKinsey & Company: the collision of technical disruption, rapid emerging markets, growth, widespread ageism. We've not seen the shift in our demographics since the 1500s, during the days of slave. And yet, along with that, we also have this technological change, advancement that is happening so quickly. We don't know where we are at times as management because the ground is shifting so quickly around us. New technologies are disrupting our workplaces. New practices are disrupting our workplaces. It's very difficult to stay ahead. When we look at the demographics, there's only one country around the world that it will see its working age population, that's between 15 and 64, grow between now and 2050, and that's India. Every other country in developed markets, China, our developed economies, they're all in decline. That's a significant challenge. When we look at the demographics in Canada, the bar on the chart at the left-hand side of the screen there shows in 2010 there were pretty close to 4 working people for every retiree. Shift forward to 2031, there's just over 2 working people for every retiree. It's very difficult to find the talent that you need when we've got a shrinking population. Knowledge-based economy. If we look back, 1980, almost 60% of our economy on a global, in 1980, almost 60% of our work was in farm employment, agricultural employment on a global level. By 2010, you can see the shift from farm employment to non-farm employment of almost 75%. Now, in that 75%, almost 75% of those jobs are in the services industry, which is what a lot of these folks are engaged in. And the upshot of this is the skills gap that's taking place. In one of the presentations earlier, the gentleman noted that we have a skills gap in Canada. Well, this is what's happening around the world. As we have the shift to knowledge-based economies, the demand for higher skills, we're disrupting people in those lower and medium skilled occupations. It's projected by a McKinsey & Company in this report that there's going to be a high-skilled worker shortage of about 40 million people by 2020. Anybody want to guess where the majority of those people, that shortage will be? No. Which country is likely to have it? Sorry? No. Japan. So let's try that again. There's a 40 million, we brought 40 million skilled workers in here, it'd be pretty good. 40 million shortage of skilled workers around the world. China will have 23 million, a shortage of 23 million workers in their country. The US and other developed nations will make up the balance. The workers that are in demand, you know it. Knowledge workers, leaders, people that can make things happen in their organizations. This was taken from Randstad's Talent Trends report in 2015. So on the lower side of the scale, you can see that we're disrupting occupations that used to pay pretty good money. Manufacturing occupations, for example, task work. They're not in that much of a demand on a global level. What do CEOs think? Well, they're worried. On a global level, this is from the PwC survey in 2015. There was a jump from 58 to 73% in just 2 years in terms of their concerns about top talent. They also said that they don't think that countries are doing enough to cooperate to make it easier to move talent around. And that's one of the things that's critically important to you, and it's critically important to our association. Within Canada, putting this into the context of the Canadian situation, we're projecting, it's projected by minor management consultants in 2015, a report that they issued, that we will have a high-skilled worker shortage of about 2 million people. We have a working population of about 18 million people. So this is significant. Canada's economy is changing. We are demanding new skills. It's becoming more complex. And most of the jobs that are coming forward are going to require post-secondary education. Fact is that we do not have the population to fill those jobs. We simply do not have the kids in school. Our birth rate is in decline.
Did you guys hear that?
And so one of the key solutions to this is mobility. How do we get people from other jurisdictions to come and live here? Well, we know that Canada is a pretty good place, but it is difficult to get in here. We know the benefits of mobility. Drives business success. It brings talent hubs together. Talent attracts talent. If you build centers of excellence for talent, people will gravitate to that. They will want to move here. It promotes innovation, promotes creativity, and above all, it increases our competitiveness as a nation. But there are challenges. As I mentioned, if you think back about that disruption in populations on a global level, this is what's happening in Europe. This is what we're seeing in the US right now with some of the protectionism. They don't want to have free trade. They want to close those borders to immigration. This is a perfect opportunity for Canada. If you think about it, while the rest of the world are closing their doors, we should be thinking about how can we open them to get some of those bright young people into our country. Governments also want their slice of tax revenues, and it's making it very difficult in this area for companies to figure out how do they comply with very complex legislation that is springing up in Canada, the US, and around the globe. And at the same time, we have reluctance of people to move. You think back about one of those factors I mentioned earlier. People have choices today. China's a pretty good place to live for a lot of people. India's a pretty good place to live for a lot of people. So there's not that pent-up demand to necessarily want to come to Canada. In fact, Canada's number 5 in terms of we trade places between Australia and Canada as a top destination. US, UK, always number 1 and number 2. We'll see what happens if Mr. Trump gets in as president. We did a survey in 2014 with Ipsos Public Research. It was conducted 24 countries, 12,000 people. Only 1 in 4 people said that they would take a job in another country. All expenses paid. So it's very difficult because now one of the challenges that we have today is dual income families. And so if we're moving a professional, you're not just moving 1 professional, you're very likely moving 2. We did a similar study in Canada here in 2014, following up to the international study. We asked them the same kind of question. Would you move to another city or another province, all your expenses paid, 10% raise in pay? 1 in 2 Canadians said, absolutely not. I don't care how much money you give me, I'm not interested in moving. Don't want to. How many people would leave Vancouver for another job? Let's just take a poll real quick. Oh, put your hands up. You would leave Vancouver for another city, for another job. Okay. We should have had one of those electronic polls. When it comes to managing this process, it's very difficult for from a management perspective, because we've got employee reluctance to move, they've got to juggle tax issues, compliance with immigration. It's a nightmare. It's very, very difficult. One of the big challenges you have in this city right now is the cost of housing. We have the same thing in Toronto. So some companies are having to find ways around that. I'm going very quickly because the red button is going to go off soon. I don't know. We also do a lot of surveys, and we do a survey every 2 years. To move a homeowner, it's about $40,000 for a new hire. This is for a new hire. It costs about $40,000 to move a person that owns a home in one city to another city in Canada. If it's a renter, it's about $25,000 in order to do that and do it properly. This is not just giving somebody $500 in a truck. This is making sure that you're resettling them and you're getting the right talent and you're making sure that they are established in the community that you're moving them to and that they're job ready, that they're not worried about where they're going to live, where the kids are going to go to school, where they're going to get a doctor, and all of those other things. So there's people, professionals in the industry that help companies do that. And as I said, a number of them are in the room this evening as well. Finally, some solutions. So what we've been working on as an association is we're trying to get the government to adopt contemporary regulations that promote economic immigration, facilitate temporary entry, both here in Canada and also on an international level. When you're looking at your organizations, whether you're big and small, job planning must be job one. Where are you going to get the talent from that you're going to rely on in order to fulfill your commitments and your projects? I think also that what you need to do as you're thinking about bringing people in from other places is how does it fit with your overall talent management strategy? Are they aligned? Are you bringing in the right people? And then also make sure that you've got competitive relocation policies to support the recruitment and the retention. Because if you bring them here and you don't treat them right, they'll go to your competitor. Or they'll find somewhere else to go, and you will have wasted a lot of money if you don't do it right. That's it for me. Thank you very much. We have a conference here in Vancouver, September the 25th through the 27th. There's some information there. There's some information on the work that we do at the back of the room. I'd love to chat with you afterwards. And thank you very much for your time, your attention. I appreciate it.